the 29th, we have started pulling off all our honey. You can see all these boxes stacked behind me. That is empty supers. Most of those had no honey in them. Some of them did, but there's just a handful that's been extracted out of all those supers. It's just off this yard here, but we did get a decent amount of honey. I don't know, there's probably, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's close to 40 hives in this yard, and may have a couple of barrels of honey off of this yard. Probably going to be real close to about two barrels of honey, and it's not very good. But anyway, it's better than nothing. We've let's get this spun around. It looked like we was going to have a lot more 3 or 4 weeks ago. We did really good until the end of April, and then the rain started, and it rained every day through the month of May. And even towards the end of the month of May, it looked like we were going to do a lot better than what we've done. We still had a good amount of honey considering the weather conditions, but I added more supers and just kept expecting some more flow to come in, and it just kept raining and kept raining, and wound up with a bunch of empty boxes. So what we did have here through this month of June, the bees have consumed the majority of it. So that's part of beekeeping. If you're running a honeybee business, you've got to make money in more ways than just honey, because I would think this year for us is, I'd say it's rare, but it happens. So you gotta prepare for that. You gotta make money in more ways than just honey. You gotta sell bees in different ways, and queens if you are willing to raise queens and sell mated queens, and different things like that. Help you make some income from other ways, but that's what we've got. I'm gonna finish. We've got all the supers pulled off of these hives here. We are extracting right now. I'm here this is my home yard. This is at my house. Honey shed is, our new honey shed is set up in my backyard. I got somebody in there extracting. Brian's in there extracting what boxes we've got right now. We got the deeps done first. We got most of the second deeps that we had on the boxes. They've been extracted, and I come back and put them on the hives. Made it back to a double deep. So if you have watched prior videos, you know that a lot of, well, I used to overwinter singles. I'm starting to overwinter all double deeps. But either way, whether it started as a single or overwintered as a double deep, we put a second box on. And in early spring, if they were singles, I add a second deep. But as the honey flow goes on, I start at the beginning of May. Now shake all the bees out of that second deep and move my excluder down to just one single brood box, and put my excluder, put the second deep back on top of that excluder, and let the brood hatch out, let them emerge, and backfill that box with honey. So in the end, I wound up with that second deep box as being my first honey super, and then all the supers I add goes on top of that. So we pull off all the medium honey supers and that deep, second deep there also. We're down to a single brood box. Get all that extracted out. I'll stack honey supers off to the side and get ready to let the bees clean them out, and then I'll carry them back to another yard that's got we store a lot of equipment at, and got a Connex box I store those. But the second deeps, when they're extracted out, I bring them right back and put them back on the hive, and I make that a double deep again. That 10 clean, drawn out combs in there. So as soon as I do that, I'll come back and make splits. That's why you see a third box on these hives at this point. Those are splits that I made today, and I'm currently making. I've made it to here, and I'm gonna. That's where we're at with these boxes right here, ready to grab some of the double deeps. I mean, excuse me, the extracted deeps. I got some sitting on the trailer. I got a couple stacked up right here, and I'm going to stick them. I'll come over here. I'll bring an empty box, and I'm going to video this process and show you exactly how I'm doing it. But I'll stick a empty 10 frame box right here beside the hive when I open it up. I'll pull 3 frames of open brood out of the hive. Shake all the bees off, because I'm not interested in taking the time to find the queen. So I shake all the bees off. That way I know I don't move her to my split. And set three frames of open larvae right in the middle of that box. I take my 10 frames of extracted comb. I put one of those up against that 3 frames of brood. Put the other one back in the bottom deep of the hive that it came from, and then set that box, that empty box that's extracted out, right on top of my original hive. Put an excluder on top of that, and I will grab my split, set it on top of that excluder, fill the split in with the rest of the way. I'll fill it with a foundation. So I have 4 frames total drawn out, 3 with larvae, 1 extracted, clean, drawn out comb, and 6 foundations. And close it up. Tomorrow I will come back. So overnight through the morning, those nurse bees are going to come up and cover that brood up. They'll cover it up and keep the temperature good on those tonight. And tomorrow I will bring back a double screen board for every one of these splits I've made. I'll set that split off, set it over here to the side, remove the queen excluder that I have, just like this on these splits I've already made. I will remove that queen excluder, put it in the truck, grab a double screen board, put it in place on top, up under the split, and set the split right back in its place. So when I do that, that completely separates that colony. That split will be completely separated, and it will be its own hive full of those nurse bees that's covering that brood up. And at that point, you can add a queen cell, a mated queen, allow them to make their own queen, however you choose to do so. And that's it. What it does, you're gonna, at this point in the year with the flow over with, you do need to put a bucket of feed on them, and I will do that tomorrow. As soon as I separate those splits with a double screen board, I will add a 1 gallon bucket of probably 1-to-1 or maybe a little lighter sugar syrup right on top of these. This is my feeder plugs. I just pull that out, and you can see I've got a hole in the inner cover also. I set the bucket right on top of those, and they will feed, come and feed. You see down in that, I just made these splits. Those nurse bees, if you can see in there, have already come and covered up those frames of brood that I have moved up into this new split. This process works really well. I've done splits in every way you can imagine, and I found nothing that even comes close to doing as good as these, making splits this way right here. They have a very good success rate on them. Very good success rate at getting queens mated and returned back into the hive. I have come to the conclusion over time that I really believe the success rate of, if you made many splits over the years and have very much experience with it, you know that at certain times of the year, especially more than others, it is very tough to get splits queen right, to get a mated queen returned back into the hive. And this time of the year is one of them. There's 2 things that I have found that really improve your success rates, and I have very close to 100% queen right success most of the time. And that depends on weather for sure. But one of those is feeding. putting a bucket of feed on top of them, that definitely keeps your bees in the hive, makes them thrive, and helps them to get queen right. The second one is pulling these 3 or 4 frames of brood. It's even better to pull 4 frames of brood up, but 3 works well. That's what I like to do. But having those strong splits, I truly believe that those stronger hives fanning out that much more pheromone, being a queenless hive, how they fan out that pheromone when you smell the kind of lemony smell coming from a hive, that is queenless bees fanning out that pheromone. I can't think of the name of it, but there's a name for that pheromone. They fan it out, blow it out of the hive, and in attempts to attract a queen. And that does help those mated virgins returning and coming into the correct hive and being accepted. And I really believe that makes a big difference, making those splits strong. But so that's the way I do them, and works out really well. And I'm gonna set this camera up over here, and I'm gonna go through one and show you exactly how I do it. To start out, we're gonna split this hive right here, and this is how it'll be after we pull the supers off. We have extracted the extracted the deep, the second deep that was on it above a queen excluder. We pulled it off, extracted it, got all our honey supers off, extracted. We come back to this single brood box that we've left behind, and we're gonna make a split out of it, and add back the second deep back onto those, for them to build colony back into that second deep, and get some feed back on them, and prepare them for winter over the next few months. But this, as you can see, those supers and that second deep and supers were stacked on there, and we took all that space away. So it leaves these hives very strong, and it's a very good opportunity to make splits with all these extra bees. There's gonna be a lot of brood in these deeps, in these brood boxes here on the pallet. Even though we haven't had a honey flow in pretty much 2 months, we still had a good month of April, good honey flow through the month of April, and they still had a decent amount of honey on them. But they've been consuming it for pretty much 2 months. But they've been able to keep raising bees and feeding that brood off of that honey. So it's not a complete loss. We've got good strong hives to make splits with, and those hives are also pretty valuable. Honey is valuable to have, but so are these bees, as long as you can take advantage of them by making splits. All right, I'm gonna set this camera up and show you just how I go about making these splits. That's how I set it up without the camera. I'm gonna move that box off. I'm gonna set it over here on the ground and set my camera up on that, just to show you how I do it. I'm gonna have to move that box for my camera, so let me get that moved out of the way, and I'll show you. Alright, so I'm gonna smoke these bees off the top here. Kind of get them down out of my way. Especially these where my knees are on the ground at. These on the front, I might just rake them down a little bit and let them crawl back into the hive. I'm probably not going to do that up under my legs. I can get them to move. Once I get this top pulled off, they'll crawl back in the hive. So there's my inner cover, and under that is my queen excluder. I haven't touched the queen excluder yet. But we will be moving it now. I'm going to pull that queen excluder off. This outside frame usually gonna be honey, maybe pollen. Take them bees off, and this one is full of pollen. Won't be using that one for a split. I had a few of these frames I put these green drone frames in to get drawn out through the honey flow, but I didn't put them in at the beginning. I put them in later on in the year in the honey flow, and we didn't have any honey flow, so they didn't get drawn out. Just a little bit, but not much. Alright, so we should be digging in here towards the brood nest. See that? If it's honey on the outside and you keep moving in, once you hit that, you're going to eventually hit a frame that's got a lot of pollen. And probably from that point on, you're going to be in your brood nest. I started out with pollen right on the wall, so I'm probably going to have brood out here beside it unless we got more pollen frames. And that's mostly pollen. Some cat brood. That's pollen and all eggs. A lot of eggs on that one. So, you're allowing the bees to make their own queen. This is a frame that you're going to want to use because it is covered in eggs. If you're going to allow them to make their own queen, you need eggs on the frame. And this is what I'm doing. I'm going to allow the bees to make their own queen in this split. So I'm going to take that one and put it over here in my split. And then I'm going to go on and make sure that I get at least 2 more frames of open brood. And I may swap that one out. If I find a frame full of open brood and got eggs on it, I'm going to replace it with the one I just put in the split. But sometimes it's difficult to find an egg, especially after the honey flow's over with. And since I found that one with the eggs, I'm going to set it to the side for now. Okay, this frame here is full. Well, one side, this side's got a lot of pollen on it too. This got a lot of open brood on that side and some eggs. So I'll swap that and I'll use it in place of the one that I set over there. I'm going to move this one back. That one does have a lot of open brood on it. And that's mainly what we're wanting, is open brood. If I can find 3 frames of solid open brood and find, I don't care if it's just, if I find 4 or 5 eggs on it, I'm satisfied with that. It's good enough. That's a frame of a lot of open brood and eggs. There's an old queen cell. Got a lot of open brood on it. I'm going to move it over here. And I'm shaking these bees off, like I said, just because it would be very difficult to find a queen in this mess. I'm not going to do it. So I'm just shaking the bees off. That way I know the queen's in this hive and I don't move her over to my split. It would take forever to go through all these hives finding a queen. I think that's mostly open brood. Look a little closer. Keep the pen light in my pocket when the sun's not shining behind me, so I can see into the cells. And that is, this little pen light makes a huge difference. I highly recommend keeping one in your pocket. That is eggs and open brood. Alright, so there's 3 frames of open brood and eggs. We've got our split made. Just look at the bees in this hive. They're moving over, covering the next box over. So I've got 3 frames, 5 frames, and then got 2 that I pulled out here. I'm gonna put my drone frame back in there, and hopefully as I feed them over these next few months, they'll get it drawn out. Stick this frame of pollen back in. Alright, so there's brood on these frames here. I'm going to assume there's brood on at least 2 of these over here. I'm going to push them together in the middle. So that outside frame, if you can see down in there, it's a solid frame of cow brood also. I'm going to move it over. I'm going to push my brood frames together in the middle. Just just like so. I've got a food frame on the outside and an undrawn foundation right here. And I'm gonna move, what is that? It's 7 frames back is in there. So I need 3 frames to put back in. I'm gonna go up here. Got my box of 10 drawn combs here that I've extracted. Actually, it's got a drawn frame in it too that is not drawn out. I can't get my fingers in there. I'm gonna remove it. I have a few of these that I put some extra ones in to try to get them drawn out, but it didn't work out. So this one I'm gonna have 9 frames instead of 10, but you can see how I would work it out with 10. But I'm gonna fill in these spots with my drawn out comb. I'm actually just gonna put 2 in there and leave room for 1. I'm gonna leave room for 1 foundation right here, and they'll get that drawn out. If you're gonna put foundation at this time of the year after the honey flow, don't put it on the walls. It'll probably never get drawn out. Put it up against the brood nest in the middle. You can even, a strong hive, even split the brood nest right in half, stick it right in the middle of the brood nest, and they will draw that out much quicker. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go a little further in the brood nest and do that. I'm gonna put a couple frames of brood out. I'm gonna stick it right there, and they will draw that out pretty quick. So get a foundation in there. I'm gonna move one more of these combs here over into my split I've set to the side. So I've got 3 frames of open brood, a drawn comb beside them. I'll fill that in the rest of the way with foundation, and those bees are going to be fed for a while, so they'll get that drawn out and get a good strong hive built up before winter. That one's going to get a foundation and be ready to put this box directly on it. So let me grab some foundations, and I will get this buttoned up and show you the rest of it. I've got 10 foundations there. I'm going to move one of those down into my original brood box there. Get them pushed together. Smoke these bees off the box rim here. A lot of these bees is going to get left outside the hive, these over here, and that's fine. They may crawl in that hive over there, they may crawl back over here in this one, and I don't care. It don't matter. I'm going to do the same thing to that box over there, and they're probably going to act the same way. They're going to wind up in one of the 2 hives, and these hives are so strong, it don't matter if they lose a lot of these bees. If the other one winds up being even stronger, it don't matter. Got plenty of bees. So I'm gonna, just set this over here. I'm going to move my box of drawn comb on top of this box here, and make that double deep back up. You gotta move quick when you smoke them. They don't take but a few seconds, and they are back all over the top again. So I've got that made up. Hope I ain't making you drunk watching this video, moving the camera all around like that. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 drawn combs left. I'm pushing them all to the middle, but that ain't actually the way I'm gonna do it. I like to, like I said a while ago, I don't want frames on the wall. So I move 2 frames against each wall at least. And sometimes the frame counts winds up a little different, depends on the drawn comb you've got. And I may have to put more foundation in, I may have to put less, but I want the foundation towards the middle. So I'm going to move 2 drawn combs against each wall, stick some foundation in. and then move the other two over here the same way on the other side. So that's a double deep made back hole, and they've got a good box to grow into here with 10 drawn out, well 6 drawn out combs anyway. They'll get those others drawn. So now I'll put my queen excluder on that. That's going to allow the nurse bees to come through onto my split overnight until tomorrow. Let me see if I can get this moved back over here for you to see. Now I'll take my split, set it right on top. So there's our 3 frames of open brood, 1 frame of drawn comb, and I'm going to fill the rest of the way in with foundations. Got 3 on that side, push them over, and I'll finish with, well, I'm 1 short. Finish with 3 foundations on this side. I'm going to have to grab 1 more. Alright, there's my 10th frame in there. Clean this off the top so my inner cover and my top will sit down flat. Propolis. If it was wax, burr comb and stuff like that, I like to throw it down in the hive because the bees will make use of it. So there's our split. Made whole, 10 frames. You can see bees, there's some flying on top of it, but you can see a lot of bees are, I don't know if you can see down in there, a lot of bees are already crawling up through that second deep and into this split also. Get my inner cover in place and put the top on it, and that's it. Pretty simple. Pretty simple. Do it really quickly without this camera. So don't take a whole lot, but it pays off. It pays off big time. You take a yard of 40 hives, pull your supers off, and run back through and make 40 splits, and you made up a whole new yard, and that's a lot. And it don't take very long to do it. But the biggest thing, the biggest bonus to this, doing this after the honey flow, and it's even better, I believe, to do it to have splits made in the fall, say August. That's even better timing for next year. These are your best hives for next year. These that are made after the honey flow, especially made into August, around in that time frame in the fall. Those queens are the perfect age for growing out a really strong colony when next spring rolls around. They will grow a really strong colony. They will grow faster than any other hives. Your older queens can't keep up with them. And the biggest thing is they are highly unlikely to swarm compared to your older queens. So they will keep a very strong hive without swarming. And those are the 2 ingredients to making a lot of honey. If you can keep a strong hive and stop it from swarming, and that's not that easy most of the time. And but these are the easiest way to do it, because these young queens, if they roll around there 6 months or so of age into the honey flow, they are highly unlikely to swarm. So there's nothing that'll produce honey the way that these splits will do. So it's well worth your time to do these splits. Tomorrow I will come back. These hives will sit just like they are through the night. This evening I'll go get enough double screen boards to account for every split that I've made on this yard today. Tomorrow I come back. I'm gonna, let me set this here. when I come back tomorrow, all that I've got to do, all I'm going to do is this right here. I grab the whole box, set it off, grab this queen excluder off, set it out of the way, place a double screen board right there in place, set this box right back on top. That's all there is to it. You've separated that colony. That split is separated into its own hive. When I do that, there's other ways you can feed, but this is my favorite way. I think this works the best. Pull my feeder plug right out, set a bucket right on top of that hole, and it keeps my hive fed. And that allows that split to get queen right and build up. But that's all that will be done tomorrow, and that's completely finished. All you'll have to do is give them time to get queen right, come back and check on them. I have began to do more of walkaway splits, and I do a little extra down the road to ensure that I don't create a lot of swarming from those walkaway splits, and also ensure that I get good queens out of them. And to see more of that process, I made a video here recently, a couple weeks ago. It's called let me see, I think it is how to make splits when you can't buy a queen. And that I walk you through the process that I do when I make a walkaway split, of how I ensure that they don't have too many queen cells in there, which will cause them to swarm with virgins. They will swarm with virgins, but it also picks the appropriate aged queen cell to leave behind to get a well-fed queen cell to make a good queen. So watch that video if you're going to do walkaway splits, and that process works really well. You'll hear people talk on social media and maybe some books you read, things like that, about that not making good queens, but I'm here to tell you that's not true. That's bullcrap. You can get very good queens out of walkaway splits if you follow the process that I go over in that video. It's called how to make splits, or how to split a hive when you can't buy a queen. Go back and watch that video and use that method for your walkaway splits. It works real well. So that's all there is to it. I give them time to get queen right. Go in and check, make sure I got a laying queen in there. If not, you're gonna have honey or sugar syrup honey in that box if they're not queen right. So you can set that box off, allow it to get robbed out, take it and put it up in storage for the year if you want. You can remove the double screen board, set it right back down on the hive, and just leave it 3 deeps high if you want to. It's a little excessive. Bees are not going to overwinter 3 deeps full of bees, but it protects your comb, and it does work out. That's not my preferred method. If you got somewhere good to store them, do it that way. I mean, don't do it that way. Store it and leave them in storage for the winter time. That's the best way. If you just don't have anywhere to store them, leave them on the hive and let the bees protect them through the winter time. But either way will work out. It's not going to hurt your bees to leave that 3rd box on there, unless you're in a really cold climate. Then you got to take some extra steps to condense that colony and help them stay warm. So that's a whole different process. I'm in Alabama, don't have to worry about that. But come back, they're queen right, you're good. Keep feed on them until they draw those 10 frames out, or either at least get close to it. It's best to get all 10 frames drawn out, because if you don't and you leave frames of foundation in there over the winter time, they will strip what wax are on those foundations. They will strip it off and use it elsewhere in the hive on the brood nest. So if you keep some feed on them long enough to draw those 10 frames out, by that time the hive's going to be in really good shape. They're going to be strong. They're going to look really good and have plenty of food stored up to make it through the winter time. One thing I didn't add about those double screen boards, if they don't get strong, still don't matter. Those double screen boards are a game changer overwintering a small colony. You can even take a small colony, something that you haven't just split, If you got a small colony and you're worried about making it through the winter time, take one of your stronger colonies, pull the top off, put a double screen board on, and set that small colony on top of them. And that, the purpose of that is all that heat that's produced by that colony up under rises through that double screen board and helps to heat up the bees, but more importantly, the brood area. Keeps that brood warm. And when that brood area stays warm, that allows that queen to lay more than what she can with just a small colony without that extra warmth. So that'll tremendously benefit those bees, that small colony. But if you don't get your split drawn out, I'm telling you, I've overwintered one frame of bees many times, making splits too late in the year. I've made splits way later in the season than I should have, and they've made it. You can, if you got a land queen and got a couple frames of feed and only one frame of bees, they at least here in Alabama, they do well. They'll make it through the winter time with one frame of bees over this double screen board because of that warmth of those bees up under. So double screen board's a very, very good tool to have. I highly recommend everyone keeping some double screen boards on hand. But you see this process and see how quickly and easily it can be done for a great honey crop next year. Highly recommend getting out here and doing some of these splits, these late summer, fall splits, placing them above a double screen board, and it'll pay off big dividends next spring with your honey crop. So the next day after we made all those splits, got all these boxes added back, poured our split into the top box there above that those queen excluders. All these triple deeps here. That's all the double deep colonies on bottom with a split on top above a queen excluder. So I've brought a double screen board to account for every split we made yesterday, and now I'm just going to pull that split off the top, pull that top box off, and swap my queen excluder for a double screen board. And got buckets of sugar water. Got some 1-to-1 sugar water made up in a 1-gallon bucket for each split, and we will come back, pull the plug, and put a bucket on each one. That sugar water, I don't remember if I talked about it earlier in this video, but that's putting that sugar water on it's pretty much required this time of the year. You're not gonna have very, very good success with your splits if you don't put some feed on them. So it's required. You're gonna have, your splits will be, they'll reduce their population pretty good. I don't know, I hadn't sat out here and watched every bee in them, but I don't know if they crawl out and back down in the hives below them, or if they manage to fly out, or what they're doing. But they definitely reduce their population. It's because if you add some feed frames in there, it may be a little different, but that's a lot more. I'd rather leave my feed frames in there with the mother colony, because I pulled all the honey supers off, and I really need to leave them with what they have. It's much easier just to put a bucket of feed on them. Much easier, and it's better for them. That having feed frames in there does not signal a nectar flow to the hive. It's just feed that keeps them alive. It makes a huge difference when they think there's a nectar flow going on. They will go into a mode of growth. Just having feed in there, they don't do that. They will just feed, and once that queen gets mated and gets to the lamb, she'll lay a nest up, but it's not going to be very big, especially without much, without a decent population of bees in there. So if you put that feed in there, it keeps those bees in the hive, keeps them there, and once that queen returns back mated, having that feed on there, especially with a bucket, and you're able to manipulate the amount they can get at a time, it keeps a steady supply coming into that hive, and they think that a nectar flow is taking place, and they go into growth mode, and they grow really quick, and they start drawing wax, drawing your frames out and growing that hive out, where just having honey frames in there, they will not do that. They will draw a little bit of wax, they will lay a little bit of a brood nest, but they're not going to really grow much at all. So if you want your splits to grow out, now that the honey flow's over with, put that bucket of feed on them. In hive feeder, don't do the same thing. It'll pour a lot of feed on them. It will grow them, but nothing like a bucket will. You turn the bucket over on top of the hive, you're able to punch the amount of holes in that feeder lid that you want. There's a feeder lid, something like this, just kind of like these. That we use a different kind. We use a what they call a tent plug. As a matter of fact, here's one over here. I'll show you. This is a tent plug, kind of like what's in a oil bucket. Got the little ring in the middle, and those are actually a lot stronger than those yellow lids. But you drill a 1/16 inch hole in them for every, that's how big the hole is that you need for them to be able to pull the syrup through, but it also don't leak. It keeps a vacuum on it, and it don't leak out. They have to draw it out with their proboscis. So I do on these 10 frame hives with a 1 gallon bucket, I'll do about 5 or 6 holes. You can draw that syrup out to last longer with less holes, or you can pour it to them faster, say in the late fall when you're trying to put weight on them. If you're going to use buckets for that, and I do, put more holes in it, and it allows them to pour on feed a lot faster. And you can manipulate what you're doing and what you want the bees to, how you want the bees to react by the amount of holes you put in that. So with these, I'm going to put about 5 or 6 16th inch holes drilled. Just punch it with a drill through those lids, and it signifies a nectar flow is taking place, and these bees will really turn on growth, and it makes a very successful split. And if you'll do those things, I guarantee you'll see a big difference in your split. If you're splitting them this way and feeding them this way, I guarantee you'll see an increase in your success rate on your splits. And like I said before, these are the best hives you can make. If you're interested in making honey, this is the best you can do. I'm going to attempt to do these without smoke. It's got some strong hives and rain moving in. It's starting to sprinkle. All these bees are in the hive, so they're probably going to boil out on me, but I'm about to find out. So when I come back second day, I'm just popping this box off above the queen excluder, set it to the side. Place it with a double screen board. Back in place. And that's all there is to it. That's it. I'll show you just what some of these looks like. I'll try to do this with one hand. There's going to be a good population of bees. See that split? That's 3 frames of brood, and that's a box full of bees. I guarantee there's probably 5 frames of bees in that box. I thank you for watching this video, and I appreciate it if you like and subscribe to this channel, and you get notified when the next video comes out. Thank you for watching.